Okay, hey everyone. Welcome to the Field Between. My name is Ahmed.
And I'm Yasmin.
Shit, where did I put my phone?
We're glad to be
here.
back.
Got it. Yes, we are glad to be back. Tell them what we were back from.
Back from Portland, Oregon for a very, very good friend's wedding. It was really fun.
What was it like being back in Portland?
It was nice. We didn't have a ton of time to look around the city. But we went to the Japanese garden and the rose garden. I really love the rose garden, especially. I think that's super beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what else? Did we have good food in Portland? No, we went to a decent bakery though. Got a little bit of a feel for the city, and we had a lot of fun hanging out with our friends. And the wedding venue was just beautiful. Like, even simple parks out there are gorgeous. The natural beauty is really astounding in the Pacific Northwest. So that was nice to be back with.
Went to the Japanese gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Very Japanese.
Yeah.
Very nice. Those were nice. We didn't have any good food. We had some good coffee.
Yeah, I said that, but yeah.
Where was the bakery we went to? It was okay.
It was in Northeast. It was decent.
Solid.
Yeah.
I got to hold a gun.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of cool.
You gonna give any context or just kind of let that float?
I mean, there's no other context other than I got to hold a gun in Portland.
That is true. He was safe. It was all good.
I joined the Chaz, whatever it's called.
Actually, the guy said that you were a quick study, that you were very observant, and that you held it well.
Yeah, I've watched John Wick. So I know my way around already.
I'm actually kind of surprised that you haven't held a gun just growing up in the South.
Yeah, me too. I'm really nervous that the audio is not... Hold on, talk again. Keep talking.
I have not held a gun. I would like to go to a gun range once just to kind of try it, but I don't think it's for me. I would certainly never have a gun in the home.
Yeah, I think it's working. Anyway, people will let us know if it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also surprised that was my first time holding a gun, and I would not have one in the house, but I definitely would go to a shooting range.
Just experience it, yeah.
They're fun. Seems like it.
But yeah, they do seem fun.
No, not shooting. I mean guns in general.
No.
Just I'm a gun nut now.
No, you're not.
I hold one gun.
No. I had one roommate actually when I was in Portland who had a gun in the house. Portland can be a little bit New Hampshire-like in that, like, it's very green and people are very eco-friendly, but it's also like a little libertarian around the edges a bit. But anyway, I had a roommate who had a gun in the house and it made me super uncomfortable. He also kept it right outside his door, which is like a weird move.
In like a safe or just
just out outside. That house was miserable.
Was he trying to get shot?
I don't know. I've talked about it before. That was an awful experience, but yeah.
Wait, like on a table or
no?
what?
Literally just leaning outside of his door.
Oh, it must have been a rifle.
Yes, it was a rifle.
I see.
Yeah.
Not that that's like better, but I thought you were talking about he just like left a pistol on the ground or something.
No, it was a rifle. Yeah, but it's still, I don't know. I still thought it was a weird.
Yeah, you probably should
keep it in your fucking room.
Keep the weapon. Yeah. I just like, I think if, again, like they look like they would be fun recreationally, but I just don't think I would ever, like, the whole gun as protection thing to me doesn't make sense because I'm not the kind of person who would ever kill or shoot another person.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And also just statistically, you're so much more likely to have it hurt someone else in your home, like either by an accident,
right?
Or like, I mean, if anyone has ever had suicidal ideation, it's not a good idea to have like a gun near people that you love, or even like people who might visit your home.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some friends who like feel like, oh, they might want guns as protection against the government, but like the government has drones. If the government comes for you, like your shotgun's not going to do anything. I get hunting, fair enough. But I'm in general, I'm not a big fan. I wish we could take them all away. That'll never happen, but
yeah. But it was cool. It was fun to hold.
Yeah. Wedding was beautiful. She looked beautiful.
Yeah, the wedding was a lot of fun. I got some good photos. I got to edit those and send those tonight.
You ended up being kind of like a sort of the photographer, one of two people who was photographing the wedding, which is a super sweet gift. I know that was really appreciated.
If anyone who we know needs wedding photos on the cheap, just let me know. I'll come
Yeah.
through with the camera. It's free, and
It's
you
free.
may or may not get a good photo. That's the thing. It's like, you pay for what you get.
Well, in this case, you
get what you pay
weren't
for.
paid, but yeah,
Right.
paid in love.
Yeah, exactly. But then if I don't know you and you want some wedding photos that may or may not be good, starting price is $500.
It's pretty good for wedding photos, honestly.
And you might get 10 good photos. Okay.
That's honestly it's a pretty fair bargain for someone who's like on a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else in Portland? We went to this restaurant and we saw that we ended up waiting for quite a while. I forget what do you remember the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's where I used to live. It's in like lower southeast Portland.
And we saw a sign on several of the storefronts that said no racism within 10 feet. And I've just been thinking about it since then.
So Portland, it's like kind of nonsensical.
And it really made me think, because no racism within 10 feet, but this kind of the prevailing kind of like liberal ideology is that racism is everywhere.
But not within 10 feet of this restaurant.
But even the very act of that restaurant occupying, native land is racism, right?
I mean, yeah. Oregon.
What if I stand 10 feet 1 inches away from the restaurant and yell a slur?
You interrupted me.
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to say? What about Portland?
No worries. I was going to say Oregon, as a state, started like their constitution mandated that was a white only state. It's one of the few states where that was the case.
The whole state's racist.
I mean, it's like legacy is, yeah. And Portland is super segregated and super white. And it's also kind of funny to have that sign because most people in that area of Portland are white anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And Portland has a weird shtick where I honestly didn't love living there because I have like my best friend is from there. I feel like I appreciate it through her eyes and I've seen other parts of it that I appreciate. But I don't know, having grown up in New York, like everything that's within the city limits is New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may never go to the Bronx, but you would never say the Bronx when it's not part of New York City. A lot of people who move to Portland, which is like most of Portland or feels like a lot of it, will say like, oh, like Portland ends at like 80th Street or like 75th Street. The city goes up to like 190th Street. And literally they just don't count the entire part of the city where all the poor people and all the people of color live and where there are less gluten-free bakeries and less like dog ice cream stores as Portland. So it's just a weird vibe, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just weird because it got me thinking about racism as like, which we know to be, is metaphysical the right word to describe it? Or like it's at the very most, it's like a social phenomena.
Yeah. Instead of
as
like
a physical thing with a physical embodiment. But I guess sometimes racism also has physical aspects.
Like in terms of like consequences, I guess, or like in terms of like redlining, like physical space.
In terms of like people actually being hurt or like, like it can take physical form, I suppose, right? Or like hostile architecture or things like that.
To water, yeah, resources.
But as a kind of, it is within you, right? Like it is part of your being and you should not bring it. It's like having COVID, It
is very much racism as COVID.
And if you like bring it into the restaurant, you'll infect everyone else.
I feel like it also kind of, not really, but like jokingly implies that you can turn it off and on. Like you could stop being racist.
Yeah, can I? That's the thing. It's like, what if I'm just in there and I'm just looking racistly at,
Yeah.
What if I'm wearing a Donald Trump hat?
But wasn't almost everyone in that restaurant white?
Yeah, someone there had to be racist.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know, man. It also wasn't very good. I was disappointed because I was super broke when I lived in Portland, and that was like one of the nicest like breakfasts I went to. Like I treated myself one day, and I remember it being so good.
Yeah.
But this was not that great, sadly. The coffee
also kind of racist.
Also kind of
that
racist.
The food is not good.
Yeah, that is racist.
Against Swedes because it was a Swedish place.
That's true. Misrepresenting our heritage. Honestly, Swedish food is not that good. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah,
the coffee was good, and the coffee is amazing in Sweden, so that's good. You're gonna love the coffee there.
Coffee's amazing in Sweden.
Yeah, there's a huge culture, like it's called fika, of like people take coffee breaks, like for like half an hour, even at their workplace, and there's really good strong coffee, and comes with lots of like nice treats.
Wow.
Yeah. But the food is often boiled potatoes, and that was what this was too. Yeah.
We got those tiny little pancakes that you love, which ended up not being good because they made them into a ball shape.
Well, these were different. They're Danish pancakes, so I don't know what they do. Maybe
Danes.
that's why they have balls. I still like them, actually. But I prefer Swedish pancakes, which are just like flat, regular pancakes. Yeah.
It tasted a little doughy in the middle and chemically.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah. No racism with this. Should we put one of those when we open up our place as a cafe?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 15 feet actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bold.
I'm not to be outdone.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. And then make a little racism zone 15 feet away.
Just so they can get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me, I saw.
Because people will be like leaving just kind of
like really wound
really
up.
pent up. Yeah.
I saw a cute TikTok of, I don't know if this is like actually a good parenting strategy, but I thought it was funny. Like this mom lets her kids say bad words only in the bathroom. I was like, I don't know, it was like to teach her not to say it in public, but like so whenever she's in the bathroom, she's like, shit. Like it's really funny.
That's cute.
This could be kind of the racist equivalent of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a good parenting strategy.
Yeah. It was also cute what she thought was a bad word. Like the only curse word she seemed to know was shit. It was mostly like poop and, you know.
Just kind of describing what's going on.
Yeah.
It seems like something you can kind of scale up to as the kid ages and be like, hey, please no drinking unless it's in the bathroom when they're a teenager.
Only smoke pot in the bathroom.
Yeah. Or, yeah. If you're going to have like wild, unprotected sex, please only do it in the bathroom at home.
No unprotected sex. Hell no.
But if you're going to do it.
No, wear a condom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a good parent, I suppose. Okay. Let's see. Anything else about Portland?
No, I'm glad you remembered that sign because that was really silly.
Yeah.
No, it was a good time. Beautiful weather.
I've got some random clips to play.
Ahmed is carrying this episode, by the way. I'm grateful. So it's going to be an Ahmed show.
Don't be grateful yet. Let's see how these clips turn out.
Okay.
First one is actually a picture, which is terrible for podcasts, but it reminded me of something you brought up to me. It's Kanye West and his wife, Bianca Censori.
Is she naked as hell?
Look. They're walking in the rain.
She's actually naked in this. Okay.
And it kind of made me laugh because I know you've brought this up before.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like anytime, it seems like he just dresses both of them, and then he's always covered up.
He's completely
masked.
covered up.
He's like a niqabi.
Yeah.
And then
like a reverse niqabi relationship.
Yeah, and then his wife is like just absolutely butt ass naked, and in this case, he's fully dressed, rain poncho, mask, big boots, like thick sweatpants. You can't see an inch of like skin on him. And his wife is wearing what is pretty much just like a clear plastic bag over her naked body.
That you can see, at least from this photo.
Which I think
there's
is
like a sticker over her pussy. You cannot see it.
Which I think is kind of hilarious.
I feel like it must be a kink. Like I wonder if it's like a subjugation kink that she's always like pretty naked.
Do you think it's a subversion of patriarchal gender expression?
How is it subverting anything?
Because we expect women to kind of cover up.
No, we don't.
Muslims do.
I think the male
fantasy. Do you think Kanye's
like,
subverting Muslim?
No. I think it's very like Madonna horror complex. Like our culture, it's either you're very covered up or you're not at all, and it's hard for people to understand women who are like, which is most women who are just like wearing a variety of things. I mean, everyone, even if you cover up in public space, then often you don't in private space, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, in reality, no one is like a Madonna or a whore, but I feel like she's kind of playing whore.
Yeah.
As a bit. I'm not saying she's a whore. That sounded bad.
It's also weird because he kind of just married someone who kind of looks like a Kim K. And then he just like is constantly parading her around naked.
Yeah, exactly. What's your feeling on that? Are you flattered when people you've dated date someone who's kind of like you? Or do you think it's weird?
I've really just dated one person.
But like in college and stuff. You always say that. It's not really true.
No, it is kind of true because I didn't really ever like date anyone in college.
But you had like other experiences in college that you can think of those people. I can think of 3 right now, 2.
Yeah, but it wasn't really like dating. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I haven't experienced that.
Okay, that's fair.
What about you?
I think it's flattering and funny.
You think it's happened?
Yeah, a little bit.
How many times?
I can only think of one, but
Yeah.
like I feel like she had a similar body type to me, and I was like, oh, that's cute.
But like similar features.
No, but like similar body.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you were like, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
Okay. Was this a serious relationship or no? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What if it was a serious relationship? Does that change things?
I feel like it's always kind of flattering, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that's weird. Maybe that's like thinking of yourself as archetype. Maybe they were the actual like person that they, I don't know. Maybe they're like a new and improved version of you.
Yeah. Okay.
I love this is like Ahmed's internet tour.
Yes, it is. I'll come back to that one later.
Oh, can I say something while you're looking?
Yeah.
I'm so late, but I finally wanted to catch up with all the cool girlies, and I listened to a little bit of Chapel Roan and a little bit of what's her name?
Charlie XCX.
Yes, Charlie XCX, and I actually really like Chapel Roan. She's got one song called Pink Ponies that's about like going to a gay club and kind of like feeling the sense of like, oh, like something clicking in her head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cute. I've been listening to it a lot. Charlie XXX is not for
XCX.
me. XCX, oh, not XXX.
That's probably something else.
That's probably something else. I'll look that up.
Yeah.
It's like
Unless you're in the bathroom.
yeah, that's the only time that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like not for me, but like, I like it a little bit sprinkled in here or there, but just kind of sounds like old school electronica club music. I don't know. It's cute though.
Yeah, it doesn't sound new.
Yeah, but
From
I guess
what I've
everything
heard, I think I've heard
comes
like
up
one
again.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Chapel Roan's cool, and now I'm glad that I know what's happening because everything moves so fast.
Yeah. Apparently she's being stalked or something, or she just posted a video yelling at fans, just being like, imagine you don't know someone and then you go up to them and you start blah blah blah.
Which one of them, Charlie or Chapel Roan?
Chapel Roan.
Oh, poor thing. She seems to be struggling a little bit with. That must be like really disorienting, like suddenly being famous.
Yeah.
She also broke down crying at a concert in Raleigh. Yeah.
It's baby shit.
Nah, I feel like it's real to show that. I mean, that must be disorienting. I can't imagine.
Yeah, but you're also rich.
Yeah. But rich people have feelings too.
My official advice: get over it.
Not the stalking, but you mean just the nervousness of fame. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Whoa, the audio's not playing. Oh, sorry. So this is someone who I guess recently we forgot to commemorate it officially, but it was the annual gathering of the Juggalos recently. Do you know what that is?
No, what is that?
You don't know what a Juggalo is?
Is that like a man who has sex with someone?
That's a gigolo.
Oh, what's a juggalo?
A Juggalo is someone who
I like that you knew what I was trying to think
I guess
of.
adheres to the basic practices and tenets of the band, the Insane Clown Posse.
What? I've never heard any of these words before.
Are you fucking serious? Did you grow up at the same time I did? What are you talking about? You don't know what a Juggalo is?
A bubble. What's the clown posse? Insane
Clown Posse is a band. It was
Oh.
like a rock,
What do
like
they sing?
rap band, huh?
What do they sing?
Kind of like shitty rock rap. It was like a band that was popular when we were like in middle school.
Oh, I was not. Yeah,
And then it kind of became a bit of a meme because, the followers, the adherents, they're just like really into it.
Okay.
And
kind of like Deadheads or.
kind of.
Okay.
But they paint themselves and then they go to a Juggalo gathering and
Why are they called juggalos?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I'll look it up for you, but
Okay, I definitely needed that context. So.
okay.
thank
So
you.
this is at the gathering of the Juggalos that happened recently.
You could be making so much stuff up, but I would have no way of
It's
knowing.
an actual replication of my husband's penis with his ashes in it that I have slowly been spreading around the gathering. And he's here.
Aw,
What do you think about that?
it's kind of cute. I mean, it's weird, but
You think it's sweet?
Kinda. I mean, I don't know why it had to be penis shaped. I feel like it would have been more normal.
Because it's a replica of his penis.
Yeah, I got that, but I feel like it would have been like more of a sweet sentiment if you just sprinkled his ashes at an event he would have liked to have been at. The penis makes it kind of weirdly sexual, but maybe he used to fuck people at that event.
Interesting.
And she likes
yeah.
that.
What do you think it means that he died and was cremated to ashes and now lives inside of his own penis?
Maybe that's what he wanted. I don't know.
It's kind of like a metaphor for life as a man. What do you think about that? Is that deep?
No, because I think if you don't have a penis, you can still be a man, but or if your penis is not active.
True.
But,
shit. Okay. All right.
If you were cremated, would you want me to do that?
No.
You don't want to be cremated, do you?
No, I just want to be thrown like off the side of the highway or some bridge or something.
No, for real. We don't have a will. We should do that. Do you want like a Muslim burial? Like you want us to be put in the earth in like a wooden... you said of course, my cutie. Yeah. You want to be put in the earth like in a wooden coffin?
Not even a wooden... I just want to be put in the earth.
You can't do that in the U.S., unfortunately. So you're going to have to
then
be in a
bury
wooden
me
coffin.
somewhere else. Bury me in the desert.
That's a lot of effort. I'm not going to do that. If you died
Sneak
right now,
pyramids.
I would bury you in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Build a little pyramid for me. Oh yeah, actually, okay, here's what we're going to do. Fancy cemetery.
Okay.
And instead of a mausoleum, you'll build a pyramid to put me in.
All right. I won't put you in it, but I could do like a pyramid-shaped tombstone.
If we end up making a lot of money and becoming rich, you have to build a little pyramid for me. And then you have to be buried in there with me.
Aw, that's cute.
Even if you're still alive.
Oh, that's not so cute.
Yeah. And the cat.
Wait, where
you and the cat have to go live with me.
Where would you want to be buried?
I don't really care.
Really?
What about you?
I don't know anymore. I used to want to be buried in Brooklyn, but...
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's where I'm from.
Just by the BQE?
Yes, that's exactly where I wanted to be buried. There's actually, that's so funny. There is a cemetery by the BQE, and I always thought that was really nice because you'd see a lot of people.
Okay.
Well, I just want to be buried with you now, so I guess. But if I died first, I don't know.
Pyramid.
I think still Brooklyn, but then if you died first, I'd want to go wherever you are.
Real estate's expensive in Brooklyn.
It is. I'm sorry.
We can't afford buried.
If you're getting buried in a pyramid mausoleum, I think you can put me by the BQE.
Okay. Yeah, if we have the money.
Yeah, if we don't have the money, then you can just bring me back to North Carolina. Don't bury me in Pittsburgh, please.
Wow.
I don't identify as being
that cemetery's so nice, though. All the deer come visit your grave.
I like it, but I don't feel like I identify as being from here yet, you know? I think either North Carolina or New York, you should bury me.
Okay. Maybe we should just throw your body in the subway and you get to be eaten by rats. And it's kind of like returning to New York.
That really is actually. It's kind of poetic, but I feel like that would traumatize some children.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, that's weird. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, this next clip is at some sort of con or event where influencers are. I don't think I've brought him up before, but there's an influencer who I see quite often. He's a young guy who goes by the name Speed.
Is he Muslim? Did we talk about him on the Muslim
He's not
podcast?
Muslim.
Oh. Okay.
But he is, he can kind of be a little bit of a troll. He's like pretty athletic. He does a lot of videos of himself like trying to race against other people.
Is that why he got the name Speed?
I'm guessing so. He seems like he might actually be like a current or former like track and field athlete. But yeah, so he does these videos. He does these like streams where he plays video games as well. I think that's just kind of how he built his following.
Seems like what you have to do nowadays.
And he's kind of, I don't know, in the last little, I've been seeing him on feeds here and there for, I would say the last year or so. And I feel like he's not like a political kid. He doesn't really get involved in politics. It seems like he doesn't really know a ton about the world. However, he's had a bit of a evolution, I guess, since the Palestine thing.
Okay.
Since the war in Gaza. And he's kind of come to the pro-Palestine side, and he will constantly say, yo, free Palestine.
Okay.
But so here he is as a con, at a con where one of his fans kind of comes up to him and talks to him about Zionism.
Never mind. Your followers are killing me.
Wow.
They're calling me a Zionist.
Zionist?
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
I was born in Israel. Well, no, I wasn't born there, but I grew up there. And they're upset about it.
What? so you're a Zionist?
Very.
No, there's no question.
Are you not?
No.
Why not?
Why would I be a Zionist?
Because people have a state.
Free Palestine. I ain't about to get deep in that, but peace out.
I just really love that clip. Did you catch all of it?
He just said, "Why would I be Zionist? I'm not about to get deep in all that. Cats, peace out."
So yeah, she goes up to him and she says, "Oh, your fans are killing me."
Yeah.
Because, and he's like, "Why?" She's like, "I was a Zionist," and he's like, he doesn't even know what a Zionist is.
No, it's so strange.
He's just like, "What's a Zionist?" And she's just like, "Well, I was born in," and then she catches herself. She's like, "Well, not born in Israel," which is in and of itself hilarious. And she's like, "Oh, well, I just think Israel has a right to exist." And then he's just like, kind of his whole mood switches up. He's not really interested in engaging her. And
yeah, I mean, I guess it's weird that he doesn't know the word Zionist, but I guess at least props to him for like not engaging and not like supporting her platform, obviously.
Well, that's the thing that I appreciate. It's just like
Yeah.
he's not super clearly like not super educated on the issue. But I don't know. It's kind of sweet that his like moral compass is like still pointing him toward being like, I know what I'm seeing
is wrong. I think that's the case with a lot of young people, honestly. They just like
Yeah.
see footage and they're just like, well, this can't be right. And it's kind of nice to know that their hearts are in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's also easy to kind of like even my first instinct was like, how does he not know the term Zionist? But you don't even really have to know that term to know that genocide is wrong, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially for like a kid who I guess in the past, like I said, has been a troll. Like it seems like on this issue, he's just like, this is...
Yeah, the fact that he didn't engage her and was like, it's not even worth it if she's going to be a... Because in essence, she's obviously kind of trolling a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just love that she was just like, well, yeah, I was born in... Actually, not born in.
Madalia, yeah, she probably...
Yeah.
I agree.
Probably just like stole someone's land or her family did or something like that. I have this video, but I don't even remember what it is.
Let's take a gamble.
It's I think a guy speaking Arabic.
I put all my pussy in it.
What?
So, I remember now. I think it's just a funny video. I thought it's a guy asking like a mom who made him food, just like, how did you make this food? It was so good. And she's like, I put my pussy in it.
That's pretty...
Not much more to say on that.
Okay.
Okay, and then I have on my last notes, I actually do have a video about Sneeko, who was the guy you were thinking of earlier.
Yeah, so Sneeko is a Muslim influencer. Well, not really. He's not an influencer for being Muslim, but he is a Muslim.
He kind of is now.
Really?
He's growing a little bit more as one.
You can see our Muslim Manosphere episode to learn more about him.
Yeah.
You're right, I was thinking about Sneeko when you said speed.
I did take a video of him. Hold on. How far back is it?
Well, Ahmed's looking for that. Another update I have that's very sad is I left my planner in Oregon.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
And my planner is how I organize my entire life. So
How do you even know what's supposed to happen?
I don't. It's really scary.
Someone could just jump out and sneak up on you at any moment
It's coming
and be
tomorrow afternoon, so I will just spend an hour sitting down and writing down everything I can, and hopefully but I'm worried I'm going to miss something now.
Yeah.
It's really the perils.
Did you make any plans with friends for the week?
No, because your fam's coming and
That's right.
got work and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
But I know I'm supposed to meet with like my this person, my friend who I run the creative collective with, Tabaddal, and I don't know what day. I have to ask her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life.
It's pretty bad.
That's a different video. Okay, if I can't find this, then we'll just have to... Oh, you know what? I think it's bookmarked on X. That's why.
Don't say X. Don't give him the satisfaction. Twitter
Yeah.
forever.
Did you see that? I might have mentioned this. He did a poll on his feed, and he was just like, be honest, do you guys prefer X or Twitter?
I didn't see this.
And like everyone, even the Elon Musk sycophants who
Were like,
have the blue checks
Twitter.
and pay for Twitter, and they were like, Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, Elon. Twitter's.
He's such a dope.
Yeah.
He's truly an idiot. Have you seen his daughter trolling him? She's awesome.
No, but I heard he has a terrible relationship with her.
Yeah, and she seems lovely.
Yeah. Here we go. This is like a 2-minute long video, but you don't really have to watch the entire 2 minutes to get the gist.
Okay.
But it's Sneeko. I think, is he in Saudi Arabia or is this
Who brought
somewhere?
that kid to Saudi?
He's somewhere. He's at like a legit, like nice masjid. It could be Egypt. I'm not really sure where he is. But anyway, here it is. He's talking about women in Islam.
Still have ideologies that go against Islam. What ideology do you think I said was red pill? That it's a whole. I understand what you're saying about that, but I want to see why you think I'm wrong about saying that women learn God from a man. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today says to the example for the believers, not believing women, believers, Imra'ata Fir'aun, says the wife of Pharaoh. The wife of Pharaoh, her husband, is a horrible man. Horrible. And she was the one who wanted to adopt Moses, and she saw him as her own child. I just read that today in the Quran. I read the whole story. Yeah. So this woman had a horrible husband. If she was forgiven, if I'm not mistaken, she's the highest levels of paradise. Right. She's one of the best ones. Because she was married to the Pharaoh, who's the top op. He's buried. He's in the bottom level of hell. She's on the top. He's on the bottom. If she was led by the husband, she would have been in hell. But Allah used her as an example, as amongst the best. Right. There's outliers to everything. But there's exceptions to the rule. My point is, exception, Allah uses. What did I say specifically that you disagree with? I believe the rule that you said is the fact that women need a man to find guidance. 100%. So you believe women can't find guidance on their own? They can, but overall, overwhelmingly, women are going to be programmed by the men that are around. That's why all these women are feminists in the West, because there's no God-fearing men. And they're going to go and fit into the mold of what men are believing in the West. Yeah, but then the problem would be, then the women have no free will. If no good man, she can't find Allah. That means a woman cannot be accountable except if she has a man. Who bit the apple? We don't know in Islam. Really? Yeah, we don't. That's a Christian belief? Yeah, we have no idea who bit the apple. Wait, Warner, that's true? If anything, who bit the apple? Blamed Adam. We don't have actually any proof that, if anything, Allah blamed Adam alayhi salam.
Yeah, it's not like a notion of like original sin in Islam.
Yeah.
That's so funny. He's like, I love that. He's like trying so hard to push for like just an excuse for his misogyny, and this guy is like, this does not, like, it's not adding up.
Yeah, well, he's taking the premise that the West is corrupt because women follow men and men are weak, and because men are weak and women follow them, that's why the West is corrupt.
I think he's also saying though that like that women don't follow men and that's why they're corrupt.
No, he's saying that the weak Western, but that's why it's like kind of circular reasoning that just doesn't make sense, is that the West is weak because the women don't follow men because men are weak, and when women follow weak men, then the West becomes corrupt. It's like,
I think his
like
prescription at least
weird,
is definitely like both that women should follow men and that men should be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the guy,
but I don't agree with you. I think he's also saying like the issue is really that they don't follow. No. Yeah, that they're not following. It's not just that men are weak, it's that they're not following. It's not
internally consistent. That's the thing. It's like contradictory in and of itself.
I mean, it's also just the main thing is that it's not like supported Islamically or by the Quran.
Yeah, and the guy like rightfully points out, he's like, if what you were saying is true, then it means immediately half of the people who are Muslim like suddenly don't have free will.
Yeah.
And free will is a requisite of being a believer and submitting to Allah.
And it's kind of like sacrilegious. It's kind of deifying men almost. It's kind of like the idea is that you're supposed to be able to have a direct connection with God, and it's kind of putting like another being in the way of that.
Well, it's also making every man a prophet.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's like men, everyone who is Muslim should be following the example of the Prophet Muhammad.
Right. Regardless of their gender. Yeah.
Right. You don't follow. We're not the prophet. Like, the men who exist today, like there's a reason that, we try to achieve that level of perfection. It's not innately in everyone.
This is also just such a great example of like people get platformed so easily, especially men who claim to be religious, and he's still learning some basics, which is like no shame. Like we're all still learning.
But he's someone who's has a platform built on like appearing to be an
Misogyny.
expert, and he does so much dawah bullshit while he's also hanging out with like, I mean, again, I'm not judgmental of these people, but like these OnlyFans like
Right.
people and
But he's
just
also kind of
doing
shitting
a
on
bunch
them,
of, like-
right? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, he's his whole thing is like to do the very things that he like judges people for.
Yeah. If you're still at this level of learning, I don't really think it makes sense to be doing dawah. Like regardless
Oh, of
of your
course
bent,
not.
I feel like it's not ideal to be proselytizing so early on. I mean, I don't know. It's
or
tricky.
ever if you're just like a piece of shit like this
yeah,
guy.
I mean, there's that too. But
Yeah.
like also just like, yeah, I think it's good to humble yourself and learn if you're still learning, you know?
Right. These guys convert to Islam and there's absolutely no humbling. It's
Yeah.
immediately like, how do I make other people feel bad and push this like reactionary agenda?
And it's our fault too. I mean, not our fault individually, but like
No, it's your fault, not mine.
some Muslim men do platform them. I mean, it's similar to Andrew Tate, right? I mean, he's even been like
Oh, yeah.
anti-Palestine, like, which is not like a religious issue, but he's been shitty on a lot of things, obviously. And people just gave him a platform and were excited by someone converting. Yeah.
Tate's been pretty pro-Palestine.
Really?
Or actually, not so much pro-Palestine probably as he is anti-Israel, but
I thought he wasn't great, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I mean, he's not great, but I
On
think
that.
I think on this issue, I will say I do have a memory of him pretty like a week after.
Can you check me?
Yeah, I'll check.
Sorry,
but
I'm late for more
I do
editing
remember
happen,
a
but-
week after October
Mhm.
7th, he was like trying to raise money to send food to
I
Gaza.
thought there was something that happened recently, but I could be totally. I don't want to smear Andrew Tate's name.
Yeah.
Let's check.
Don't be talking about top G like that.
Yeah, let me not do that.
But yeah, again, I think he might not be pro-Palestine as much as he is pro-Israel, to be honest with you. But he
mean
was recently on
anti-Israel?
Piers Morgan, just like, you know, talking shit about Israel, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's recently, actually, yeah, quote, the Israelis are genociding the Palestinians,
Okay,
claims Andrew
never
Tate.
mind. I take it back. Sorry, Andrew Tate. I don't know what I was thinking of.
That's my fault, actually, because I guess you must be following a weak man who doesn't know much.
Yeah.
Sorry,
leave me.
Andrew. Her lack of knowledge is just indicative of my own.
That's true. I gotta get up on my internet convert men.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I've got a couple other things here. Kind of continuing to talk about Palestine. The DNC is happening this week, and I don't know. It just seems to. I'm curious if you've like kind of been following this as well, but just the shift of like a lot of Palestinian people who paid lip service to Palestine and Palestine's liberation, and that we should withhold weapons from Israel and investigate and all this stuff. Since Kamala's been nominated, have totally just kind of switched their tune, and they're like, everyone needs to back Kamala, whether or not she gives any guarantees on Palestine, because there's just the assumption without any fact behind it, underlying facts, that she will be better on Palestine. And I just kind of find that a little bit annoying. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to see like a more thorough policy proposal after the DNC. She's come out with a couple of things on like her economic plans that I think are decent, but she hasn't said much about Palestine, nothing of substance. And a rhetorical shift is not really enough. Like that's not what we're looking for.
Not only has she not said anything, but her website still has no platform.
Yeah. She came out with like an interesting thing about the tax credit, and she's also come out with an interesting thing about giving money to first-time homeowners. So there's been some stuff, but mostly like in the econ kind of area. I think she's also been talking about what to do to combat inflation. So honestly, like I feel like I would be like a prime audience if she were to say anything that indicated a substantial policy shift on Palestine. Like I would pretty readily vote for her. Just based on the other things that she's doing, which seem like very micro, slightly to the left of Biden, or at least like, you know, in theory, we'll see how she actually would be in office if she gets elected. But yeah, she's really avoiding the elephant in the room. And I think that those are going to be a lot of the voters who will not vote for her. So I'm a little bit confused. Like, I just don't know if like the Democratic Party thinks that this problem somehow went away with Biden. Like, it didn't. They haven't addressed it. So I don't really know.
Yeah. And even with the child tax credit expansion, I mean, theoretically would be good as long as they, usually what happens with the Democrats is that they'll propose a policy like that that's pretty popular, but then they'll means test it to shit, and then it's not really all that useful for people. So who knows?
There has been data. I mean, I listened to the Brunick episode with you. I don't remember all the details, but like, it definitely seems like it could have been done more effectively. But there is data that it substantially helped with poverty levels that year for families. So like, it made a difference. Yeah,
it does. But it tends to help. It doesn't help the families that it's supposed to help the most, right? So because it's means tested, it kind of becomes like a trapezoidal sort of thing where the benefits kind of taper off, like they ramp up for a little bit and then they taper off and then they wind back down again, right? So because of that ramp up, the people who are like at the very, the poorest people who should be taking advantage of that credit, because they don't really pay taxes,
right,
at a certain level, they just don't get anything.
But I'm again, like, I would rather have that policy than not. I mean, it's completely gone now. So yeah, and I think I think I could be wrong, but I think she's also planning on expanding it in some way.
I think increasing the amount is what I've seen.
Really?
Instead of 3,000, it's 6,000 or something like that. But who knows, right? Like if they get rid of the means testing, but then that's also dependent on how much are they willing to fight in Congress for it. And in the past, when they wanted to, what was the specific thing? Do the student debt stuff and then like the healthcare stuff. They were just like, oh no, the parliamentarian. You remember that whole shtick?
No,
so
I know.
who knows?
The Democrats are weak as hell, but I still personally, and we obviously differ on this, which is totally fine. But like, I personally think that even if it didn't help, if it helped more people who were like lower middle class, like I still think that that's better to have that than not. Even if it's like a shitty system and it got forced through in a way that was less than perfect, it's better to have that come back. And similarly with like the $25,000 for first time home buyers, I think that's an excellent proposal. And I understand that it might not be implemented perfectly and whatever, but I would rather have these kinds of proposals than not.
Yeah, I mean, again, the proposals theoretically are, if you were to ask me like, hey, if you were to flip a switch and you can have this thing or not, would you flip that switch? I'd be like, sure, I would. But I don't trust, based on their track record, that they will actually implement these things, because it takes Congress and things get negotiated to the point where if they even get to that point, like where they're not used by as many people. And I just the same way that Biden was just like, I'm going to totally eliminate student debt and we're going to have $15 minimum wage and we're going to do XYZ. And then as soon as he got the nomination, even before he took office, he was like suddenly walking all these things back. Yeah. He was like, we're going to expand the Supreme Court and do all this stuff. And it's just like,
Yeah, I don't think he ever said he would expand the Supreme Court.
He had the commission to study whether or not he should. And you remember?
But I know it's like a flawed shit system, but I'm still down to like work within the system to an extent if it allows for some people to be less sacrificed, or like to have even marginally better lives.
Yeah.
But I think the thing now that's tricky, it's not really tricky for me, I know it is for some people, is like signing off on this election to me feels like a sanctioning of the genocide. Like I feel like it to not withhold your vote. I don't think everyone has to feel this way, but for me personally, it just feels like a critical moment where it's important to make that understood that was like a red line.
Yeah.
There's so little that we can do.
Yeah.
And I think the Democrats have to feel a little bit of the pain if they don't, if they don't even say like anything that is going to change, and they think that somehow they're going to gain back all these uncommitted voters. I just don't think that's realistic, and I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah.
That's a good segue. So this tweet, I don't know who this person is, but it kind of is a good illustration of like why I'm like just really frustrated with these people, because this is someone who I, based on the tweet, I assume was like pro-Palestine at some point, but goes by June's Final Rose on Twitter. The movement is growing at #DNC 2024. Harris delegates are now signing on to a letter demanding a permanent ceasefire and arms embargo. It started with uncommitted, but the tent is widening as Harris delegates join on as ceasefire delegates. the VP needs to act. And I'm like,
What's annoying about that? It sounds like she's trying to put pressure on Harris. Isn't that what you want?
but it's backwards. That's my frustration, is that you can't go in and say, I'm committing as a delegate for Kamala Harris, right? And I'm also going to sign this letter saying that she should act on this. It's like you're doing it backwards. You should say, I'm going to uncommit.
Yeah, that's true. Until you take a stance on this issue. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be a Harris delegate and then be like, by the way, would you please? You have to be like, I am not going to vote for you if you don't say something about this publicly.
Pass an arms embargo or yeah.
And so there just like seem to be a lot of people who are voting in good faith that, you know, she will act on their wants. And like, that's not how negotiations work.
The other thing that frustrates me is like some of the negative coverage of the protesters. Like, yeah, exactly. Now is
the protesters
time.
at the DNC.
Yeah. Though actually the NPR coverage I listened to this morning was surprisingly actually quite favorable, or at least not like highly critical. But yeah, I think I've seen some Twitter discourse, which I agree with, like, now is the time to pressure the person as a candidate. Like, of course people are going to be pressuring her. Like, they have the most leverage that they will have. Like,
exactly.
So it's kind of strange to be like, oh, well, you should just fall in line. Like, no, like I need, or like, and it's also kind of the scare tactic, which I think a lot of people are just tired of now, of like, well, it'll be worse under Trump. But it's like, yeah, it might be, but also like you have to do better than that. You have to like give us something.
That's not a positive vision for the future.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, Trump the other day said that he's like, we won't allow any terrorist Palestinians in the or whatever, awful shit. But yeah, just that's not a compelling reason to vote for Democrats.
Yeah.
We kind of there's other stuff I want to get to, but real quick, since we're talking about VPs,
You want to just do one more?
The Jill Stein VP pick.
Oh, we have to talk about that. Oh my God, how did we forget that? Okay. So I have to be careful a little bit, but I think I can say this, but Jill Stein chose Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, third party candidate, chose an academic as her VP. Rudolph Ware, goes by Butchware on Instagram, who is in Islamic studies. And it's just like, it's just so bizarre, man. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, his work is great. Like, his academic work is great. And he does a lot of great advocacy for Palestine. And I'm guessing, I mean, she said that was why.
Yeah.
She also said, which is very sweet, she's Jewish, which I actually didn't realize. And he's Muslim, and just, Jill
cool. Stein.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. Stein is a pretty Jewish name. Yeah. I don't know much about Jill Stein, to be honest. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. It just is very random. It's highly random.
It's a very random pick. So
he's never been in politics, to be clear. Like, he's done important community advocacy, but he doesn't have that much of a platform compared to some other figures.
So I think what I'd heard leading up to this is that, oh, hey, the Green Party wants to select someone who's Palestinian,
which would have been
for the ticket,
nice
right?
gesture.
And kind of before the Butch Ware announcement, Noura Arakat had taken Twitter and be like, hey, by the way, I'm not going to move forward with accepting like the VP spot on the ticket.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe she was offered, she was like a final contender.
She was offered it. Yeah.
Okay.
And just for context, Noura Arakat is a very important pro-Palestine activist and an academic.
So she is also an academic, but has a bit more of like a national profile outside of academia.
Yeah.
Right? Like, still probably not a household name, but
if you do any kind of like academic
yeah.
side of activism, you definitely heard her name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't expect your average voter to have heard of her.
No, that's fair. But if you're involved with Palestine activism, I think you would.
But certainly more non-academic voters have heard of her than Butch Ware.
Yeah. Butch Ware is also not Palestinian. He's black. He is Muslim, but
yeah.
Yeah.
And the reasoning that Noura Arakat gave is that her they just disagreed on strategy for getting the Democratic Party to push for a ceasefire. It seemed like her desired strategy and approach was to run the campaign until at a certain point, hopefully the Democratic Party was in a place where they would negotiate, maybe in some of the battleground states, if the Green Party was going to take too many votes away from them and it looked too close, which is possible, right? Like they could do that in Michigan. They could do that. I don't know about Pennsylvania, but
Michigan's probably their strongest bet. Yeah.
Michigan's probably a strong bet
For losing Muslim voters, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Green Party would remove themselves essentially from the ballots in those states. Stop the campaign.
In exchange for an arms embargo.
In exchange for a ceasefire. Right. In exchange for the Democratic Party saying they will do a ceasefire, which to me seems like a horrible strategy because, again, why would you take the Democratic Party's... I don't agree with
you on that. The Democratic Party is never going to actually call for a ceasefire.
Let me put it out there so that you can disagree with me. But I just feel like, again, you have leverage before, the idea that you would just stop your campaign as the Green Party and say, okay, we're going to stop if you promise once you get elected, you will do a ceasefire. Even if they say yes, why would you trust them? Two, it's so disadvantageous for the Green Party because they work very hard to build the infrastructure to be on the ballot in a lot of those states. And that infrastructure, to my understanding, goes entirely to waste. And they have to rebuild it if they essentially don't run the campaign, which is why after Cornel West left the Green Party ticket, they kind of scrambled to figure out who to nominate, and Jill Stein kind of begrudgingly ran. She was trying to get Ajamu Baraka to run, and he was just you have to be the person, and they did that to keep their infrastructure intact. So it just doesn't seem advantageous.
So I don't think it was just a ceasefire. I think it was also an arms embargo, which would be a really significant concession. If the Democratic Party were to even say that, it would be cataclysmic to world affairs. They wouldn't have to even follow through on it. Israel would lose their shit. So I think in an imaginary world, this would never happen. But in an imaginary world where the Democratic Party conceded that in order to gain Green Party voters, I think it would be a pretty big deal.
So you think
there would be consequences even to them saying it out loud? You
think if they were put in a position where they made a public statement that was pretty, let's say, clear, concise, and it's just we reject, we support an arms embargo against the state of Israel,
I think that
because
would have consequences immediately.
Okay, slight interruption, but we are finishing recording this the next day. But what were you going to say?
Ahmed made some really, really beautiful blackberry flavored coffee that is delicious. Ahmed makes me coffee every morning. What was I going to say? Yeah, I think that an embargo itself would, just saying that there'd be an arms embargo would have pretty immediate geopolitical consequences. And so I kind of get from Noura Erikat's perspective, I guess, if she was just using the Green Party as a bargaining chip for Palestine. But from the Green Party's perspective, I guess that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I understand that from their perspective, they're trying to become a viable third party. And so to just give up, or even to agree to give up, even if it's not going to happen, probably isn't a great look.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. And I think long term, if she had joined, the Green Party could even win a lot of voters, Arab voters in swing states for the long haul, right? Not just for this election, but they could actually start to make third parties more viable specifically in this election.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I think they would have gained an interesting part of the electorate that might have made an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What else did I have on my list? Was there anything else on the Noura Erakat, Butch Ware?
No, not really. It's an interesting choice. I do think I've read some criticism that I think the Green Party should run more people in local elections. I think you explained to me that they endorse people, which is a good start, but I think it would be good if they ran their own candidates, for city councils and for Congress to kind of build up power.
Yeah, my understanding is that with limited resources, they kind of have to choose what to tackle.
Yeah.
To get the federal matching funds and all that stuff. They just they run a campaign, presidential campaign, and they have to keep doing that in order to maintain and continue building the infrastructure that they have to get on the ballot in all the different states. It seems like running for president is really just not straightforward, and you kind of need a big machine behind you. So I'm sure they are definitely involved in like state and local politics, but they're still kind of maybe too small of a party to be able to do that. I don't think it's like for lack of wanting to do it is the sense that I get, but definitely I don't know enough about that.
Same. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Speaking of the presidential race, I don't know if you saw that Kamala Harris was in Pittsburgh.
I did.
Recently.
Yeah.
Did you see they took her to Primanti's?
Yes.
Which kind of seems like a punishment.
Yeah, actually a local activist I followed here was who I think is not a big Kamala fan because she's very pro-Palestine, but she was like, all she tweeted out, I knew immediately what she meant was, why did you take that lady to that sandwich place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of seemed like a humiliation ritual, to be honest.
Let's explain. Primanti's is like beloved by locals and really by like, we've got a lot of local tourism. We've got a lot of like tourism from Ohio.
I've never maybe this is where I'm out of touch. I've never heard anyone from Pittsburgh here say they like Primanti's.
I think I have.
Maybe it's a different kind of local. I don't know.
Yeah. But I think you're right in that it really is kind of like a touristy thing. But
Yeah.
our tourism is also hyper regional, a lot of it. It's not like far flung.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a cold ass sandwich. It's not good.
Untoasted bread, 2 like slices of white bread, and between it are just like cold tomato, cold lettuce, coleslaw, a bunch of cold deli meat, and some sort of like sauce on it, and it's just like wet. It's disgusting. And fries. It's soggy fries.
I'm like really down for like an old fashioned diner sandwich that is not the healthiest, but it's like a good treat. And I
Right.
thought that this would be that, but it was not. It was very sad.
No, it's truly one of the worst
Yeah.
experiences I've ever had.
We have excellent food here, but I feel like the things that we're like quote unquote famous for are not it. Like there's like really great like local foods, but the chains are not great.
Yeah. But I thought that was fun. I don't even know what she came to talk about here, but
Me either.
I'm sure she's not coming back. She's probably going to lose Pennsylvania because she's just not going to come back here because she hated it so much. But I do think it's hilarious when you make presidents eat terrible food.
And they have to eat so much of it. It seems to be like a thing
Yeah.
everywhere. They're eating corn dogs and all this stuff to show that they're like down to earth. It's so weird.
The only person who seemed to like truly enjoy it, who was it? Who ran like in the 2016 race? He's a Republican. He had a J name. What the fuck was it? But his campaign was like pretty short lived. But a lot of the footage was just him eating at random diners and stuff.
really
And
funny. I don't
he seemed to
remember.
just really have a good time. God damn it! I can't remember his name.
It's funny.
John H something. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. And on Pittsburgh, the ceasefire resolution had some drama associated with it. So activists have been trying to get a ceasefire resolution on the ballot, and a lot of people signed it. Enough people signed it to where the county had to have a hearing about it and a vote on it. And the activists behind it withdrew the resolution because someone who had signed it was actually part of the mayoral staff in Pittsburgh. And that person got doxxed by a Zionist organization.
And that person was fired from.
They were,
The mayor's
fired or
office.
forced to resign. I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly what happened behind the scenes, but
It sounds like they were fired, but I didn't know that second part that you were saying that the petition was withdrew.
yeah. Oh, so that's where the drama is.
Oh, I thought it was about the firing.
So because of the firing and like the harassment and stuff, the activists withdrew the petition, which a lot of people are really pissed about because they're saying it's they're saying it's tantamount to handing a list over, and like everyone on that list is now just going to get doxed, and like nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I guess that like is a lot of effort also that people took to collect all those signatures.
A ton of effort.
Yeah, like we knew people who were like phoning us directly from our apartment to come downstairs and sign, which is very sweet that they were so committed.
Yeah.
That's really strange. I don't know what the strategy is behind that. And also the list already exists, so like theoretically more people who work for like local government could still be doxxed.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, I mean, I guess it's no different than like making a bunch of posts, pro-Palestine posts on social media. Like people are going to see your activism. That's kind of like the risk that you take, right? Like, I don't know. And I just feel like I do have like a growing sense of frustration with some of the Palestinian activism in Pittsburgh, because it's just, you feel like it's like, oh, maybe like a little step forward and then like 3 steps back. So this shows that these Zionists and like pretty much psychotic people who have nothing better to do than harass people can make you back down.
Yeah.
Right? Like
No, I think that's well put. It feels like a lot of like good actions in the right. And I don't want to like, I appreciate everything people are doing, but it does feel like, particularly in our city, a lot of like really good actions that are in the right direction.
mm-hmm.
But then like, yeah, some pretty dramatic steps back in response to force. And it's like, we should kind of expect force. I mean, I don't want to like make light of anyone losing their jobs, because that is really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really understand.
It's part of the plan.
Yeah,
part of the
exactly.
strategy. Make it part of your strategy.
Yeah,
like you can't just call
that.
for like a emergency march every other day, right? Like this, I'm not saying the marches are bad or anything, but you know, this was one of the things that was happening that could at least, you know, pressure the city and county in a meaningful-ish way, right? And it's, yeah, they just totally backed down from that and are probably going to have like another protest rally.
It's yet another example too of like showing that like the numbers often are with people who are pro-Palestine, and like the fact that there were enough people to get it on the ballot, but then that it was squashed through basically undemocratic means, I think is really interesting. Like, I mean, that's like how referendums are supposed to work, right? If enough people care about it, it should be on the ballot. Like that's it, you know?
Yeah. If 15,000 people signed it, then like where are those 15,000 people? You know what I'm saying? Like you get them downtown.
And that too. Yeah, that's also true. I'm actually shocked that 15,000 people signed it. That sounds like a lot for Pittsburgh.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Like a lot more people than we're seeing at protests and stuff. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Other thing that happened, Minouche Shafik resigned. I don't know if we've podcasted since then, but the now former president of Columbia University. What are your thoughts?
It's, from what I've read, it seems like she just is responding, like she just is stressed. Like it's unclear. Like it seems like she finally, after surviving all that, was just like done with the pressure. It doesn't seem like there was immediate like internal pressure for her to step down this fall. It's interesting because like the Columbia SJP, or Students for Justice in Palestine, seems to be reading it as a win that like they pressured her. But and obviously the Columbia SJP has been incredible in their organizing and has really spearheaded a lot of this student movement. But it's not that clear that that's the case, honestly. Like it seems like there was like pressure on all sides, and she just like is kind of done with it and thought that it wasn't best for her to be continuously in leadership. Yeah, I mean, I also just think it goes to show she was like a bit of a sellout. And like, what does she have to show for it? Like she couldn't even really keep her job.
Yeah, I mean, she's rich, so there's that, right? Like, isn't she some sort of baroness?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think she's already moved on to another job though.
Oh, where?
Well, let's look it up. I forget. I think it was like with a private company.
Blackwater?
No, I don't think it was quite that bad.
What is Minouche?
But yeah, I feel like because she's Arab, I feel like she was overcorrecting a little bit and trying to appear like neutral. And call the NYPD on her own students, which is a very Egyptian dictator move.
Currently serves as a trustee of the British Museum Council of Health Institute for Physical Studies Task Force on. It's a bunch of like weird.
No, but there's a new thing that she's starting already.
Plans to work with the United Kingdom's foreign secretary in an international development role.
Okay. It's random.
Okay.
It's pretty random.
I mean, she's a baroness.
What does that even mean? She's British?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She's the Right Honorable the Baroness Shafiq. Let's see. Baroness of what is the question?
Baroness is like being a lord?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no
or
idea.
it's like being a baron, but a woman.
Oh.
But I don't know what a baron is.
Are you like a little bit below a lord? Or a little bit above?
I don't know. I only know like the Red Baron pizza. And the guy's in an airplane with a long scarf behind him. But
Well, it seems pretty high class.
I don't think that's what she's going to be doing.
You know what's so interesting? It's a digression, but Love is Blind, which is a show that I love. There's a UK season now, and apparently something that really prevented like oddball pairings is that British accents are so class-based that people could like hear someone and they were like, oh, this guy is like from X class, and they kind of sorted themselves along class lines, which happened less in the US.
No.
Yeah.
She was gazetted. I didn't know that was as a baroness.
No idea what that means.
As Baroness Shafiq of Camden in the London borough of Camden and of Alexandria in the Arab Republic of Egypt.
Shout out.
So she's kind of like my queen in the 2020 political honors, and was introduced to House of Lords on October 2020.
Wow, this is a whole angle I had no idea
She sat as
about.
a crossbencher and made her maiden speech. I feel like the UK is made up. Like none of this shit makes sense at all.
Harry Potter ass
She's
shit.
a crossbencher and made her maiden speech. She's like a ship. Took a leave of absence from the House of Lords July 2023, I assume, to be at Columbia.
Yeah. So she's going back across the pond where she belongs.
Yeah, good riddance.
Good luck.
Okay, well, the last thing I have is an article in the New York Times by Bret Stephens about how to handle the next campus protest. So maybe the Columbia students can learn a little thing from Bret Stephens. Do you know who Bret Stephens is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, a little. I think this is relevant. Bret Lewis Stephens is an American conservative journalist and columnist. This is who the New York Times thinks is like the reasonable conservative voice.
I see. Okay. I'm going back to school too, so this is good for me to hear.
He's a non-Trump guy.
And they're probably thrilled by that.
Yep. He was the editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post from 2002 to 2004.
Is he Israeli?
Bret Stephens was born in New York City, so he's a New Yorker.
Okay.
I mean, he may have... I'm not sure if he's, got Israeli citizenship, to be honest. Oh, wait. 2002, Stephens moved to Israel to become editor-in-chief of Jerusalem Post.
Gotcha.
A non-Israeli... people were apparently upset that a non-Israeli became editor.
All right,
In that time, he said, I do not think Israel is the aggressor here, he said. Insofar as getting the story right helps Israel, I guess you could say I'm trying to help Israel. But I just wanted to, again, him being the reasonable voice in the New York Times, I just want to hit on some of the controversies from Bret Stephens' Wikipedia page here. In 2019, he sent a complaint to George Washington University professor and the university's provost about a tweet in which the professor calls Stephens a bedbug. This topic of Stephens' next column was a rhetoric of infestation used by authoritarian regimes such as Nazi Germany.
Oh, gosh.
So
wait, who was the professor? Was it the one that we know?
I don't know who called him a bed bug. But I just think it's hilarious that he gets insulted on Twitter and then immediately, tells the guy's boss, and his first reaction is to say, actually, this is what happened in Nazi Germany.
God.
People called people bed bugs, and that's really dangerous because it happened to me. The other thing is that, let's see, I saw this earlier. So in 2016, a column published by Stevens about an Egyptian judoka, which is someone who practices judo, refused to shake hands. I don't know if you remember this, but I do. The Egyptian person refused to shake hands with the Israeli opponent. You don't remember that? No. It was kind of a big deal, but it didn't stay in the news too long. Stevens called that anti-Semitic because he refused to shake hands with an Israeli.
Right.
So some people would say it's more about the nationality rather than the ethnicity, but not Brett Stevens because he's an intellectual. He called it the disease of the Arab mind.
Wow.
And
but that's not racist,
right? Yeah. So he's just doing old school Orientalism, sort of being like, yeah, these people live in a sotatic zone where they practice pederasty because it's so hot there, and their brains just don't form the same way that a civilized brain would.
Oy, okay.
That's kind of what Stevens would do.
Yikes! Sorry. So let's hear his take.
All right. So let's consult Stevens on how to handle the next campus protest. And I haven't read this yet, so I'm just going to read a little bit from it and we can go from there. But as college students return to campus, this is what I hope a university president might say to them about how their school intends to handle future protests. So this is a faux letter from a university leader. Dear students, welcome back. As you all know, last year, our campus, like many others, was racked by protests that began right after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th and intensified as the war in Gaza unfolded. We are not going to allow those protests to happen again.
Very upfront. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Points for honesty.
Yeah. At least not in the aggressive, disruptive, and sometimes lawless ways in which they were conducted last year. I'm here to tell you why. God, this is just like such a condescending, like, sit down, children. Let me talk to you.
This is also such an example of what a like bubble pro-Israel folks are in.
Yeah.
There are too many people who are pro-Palestine. Like, at the same way that like Zionists can target institutions, like there honestly would be targeting at this point by pro-Palestine people, as there well should be.
Yeah.
So like they would lose donors. Like no university presidents only ever issue the most milquetoast emails ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of you may suspect the reason is pressure from big donors and angry alumni, or fear of lawsuits, judicial rulings, subpoenas, Title VI investigations. I won't pretend these things don't matter to us. Above all, when it comes to our responsibility to follow the law and protect our students from the discrimination and harassment, Jewish students who believe in the Jewish state's right to exist are as entitled to that protection as everyone else.
So not talking about the other people.
But not the students who believe that
right.
Palestinians have the right to exist. I don't want to leave it at that, because the reason we intend to strictly enforce restrictions on campus protests has less to do with pressure from the outside and more to do with what we owe to ourselves as an institution dedicated to discovery, scholarship, teaching, and learning. Our central concern is not with the reputation, how others see us, it is with integrity, how we remain faithful to our foundational purpose. What's the foundational purpose other than to like get as much money and grow the endowment as possible? And like he just like, on one hand, these guys like want the universities to run like businesses, and all they do care about is the prestige and the endowment. But at the same time, they just like fucking forget that these are your customers. These are the people who give this institution any sort of edifice that it's anything other than a giant hedge fund.
Yeah. No, 100% you're right. The kind of is a contradiction a little bit between like, well, the university like should be neutral and should just like run completely as a kind of consumer model. It's kind of reminds me also of how like there was a lot of like upset about like free speech. I think we talked about this before for like trans activists who were visiting campuses, or anti-trans people rather. Mm-hmm. Like there were all these anti-trans speakers coming to campus, and then all the like conservatives were like, well, it's just free speech. But now if there's like speech that they're not comfortable with, they kind of feel the need to control it.
Yeah. He says, we are a university not merely in the sense of being a type of corporation that brings together many programs and departments. We are also a university in that each part of us is part of the same truth-seeking enterprise. Like, you can't even say, like, he still calls it an enterprise, like very corporate language, even when he's an enterprise that believes in the universality and interconnectedness of knowledge itself. Okay, it's just like a bunch of bullshit here.
And again, like, I think ideally, if you're kind of like trying to, because I still believe in this, I think universities obviously are corporations because we're like within like a really flawed capitalist system. But I think there's still beauty in like, it is a place where ideally people are concerned with ideas, and like it's often a place, a battleground for that reason over like kind of hot cultural topics.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not going to be one truth. That's kind of the idea, right? Is that it's sort of like people are having discussions and conversations.
Yeah. It's just like he waxes poetic about all this like Socratic and sort of like Platonic sort of ways that universities should be run, and it's kind of stupid.
And again, like that would involve like dialogue, not like censoring dialogue. Yeah.
I'm going to skip down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may have heard of the term institutional neutrality. It is the belief that universities like ours should avoid taking political positions of any kind, either through investment decisions or political declarations by administrators or by academic boycotts of foreign scholars, except when the interests of the university are directly affected, like when the Supreme Court weighs in on our admissions process. You may have also heard about the Chicago Principles, which make the case for universities to embrace an almost unfettered principle of free expression as an essential part of the university's educational mission, even when the speech is seen by most of members of the community as offensive, unwise, immoral, or wrong-headed. Our university embraces both institutional neutrality and the Chicago Principles. We do so not because they are ends in themselves, but because they are necessary ways to cultivate the spirit of inquiry. This motherfucker is so stupid because he even puts in his own paragraph that institutional neutrality says that you should avoid taking political positions through investment decisions.
Right, which the university, like if you have investments in Israel, that is pretty much a political stance.
So he thinks that is not a political stance, but removing that investment is a political stance.
That's strange.
He's like he just thinks that the way the world is, right, the way it has formed around him is just the natural way that it is, like the way God designed it, right? Like God decreed that Columbia University should be invested in weapons manufacturers and in the apartheid state of Israel. And anything other than that is against the nature of law. It's like such a stupid motherfucker. Okay, I have work in like 3 minutes. Hold on. Let's see if we
can land with any bangers from this guy.
Let's see. If we permit protests that inhibit the speech of others or set up no-go zones for Jewish students, again, no one was doing that. No one was.
And of course, like this is the kind of convenient narrative that Zionists use, but as we've said a million times, and we will say a million more because it's important, a lot of the students who have been arrested are Jewish. A lot of the students who are protesting against Israel are Jewish, but
yeah, that's the thing. It's like these people, he kind of came up at a time when people thought this was like a sophisticated rhetorical move, which is to just conflate being Jewish with being Israeli, or like even the state of Israel itself. And he just made his bread and butter on that, right? Like, and a lot of people can, but this is not a sophisticated rhetorical move. It's like now it's seen as like a really stupid thing to do. Like I don't know how you call yourself like an intellectual and you can't even distinguish between the two of these things.
Yeah, and again, this is an internal community conversation, and so we're not trying to like speak for people, but from the folks that we've organized with and worked alongside, like it really feels like a very turning point moment within the Jewish American community. So just to ignore half of your community like that seems like pretty intellectually dishonest, and also kind of just like intentionally silencing those voices, and that can't be good for like Jewish intellectual life. Or
again, this is supposed to be a letter to the university, right? Like from the chancellor or president.
Yeah.
This next paragraph. I'd like to add a personal note as a Jew. Like, what?
The university president just decides to like step
yeah,
in.
he's just okay. I thought this was not supposed to be you, Brett Stevens, but I guess,
It's like a kid breaking through the third wall.
or are you saying that every university president? I don't know. Anti-Semitic much, Brett Stevens? Many people.
Shafiq is like, as a Jew. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
so stupid. Bad writer. Many people objected to last year's posts with the chance of from the river to the sea protests with their chance of from the river to the sea is anti-Semitic. I find that calling for the elimination of Israel, indeed any state, is inherently repugnant. I wonder if he would call for the elimination of Iran.
I mean, the current government of
Saudi
Iran,
Arabia.
Certainly. Saudi in a heartbeat, baby.
If he would?
No, I'm saying I would.
No, I'm asking, like, would he do that? Right?
Oh, probably. I don't know.
So, or is that inherently repugnant? Do we just love any border?
May all
Any nation
borders
state.
fall.
Yeah. Let's see. Anti-Semitism is not what I found chiefly offensive about the protests. I accept that most of the protesters are not anti-Semitic,
Okay.
or at least they don't think of themselves that way. What bothered me, rather, was watching members of our community turn off their critical faculties. It was listening to, okay, he's acting like, I can take any sort of insult or slur that's hurled my way, but what I can't take is turning off your critical faculties and besmirching this great university.
AKA, if you don't agree with me, you don't have critical faculties.
Exactly right. Like, he's not the one who turned off his own critical faculties by seeing by conflating every, critique of the state of Israel with a personal attack on him. So when he heard from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, he just replayed in his head being called a bed bug on Twitter and just freaked the fuck out. That's pretty much it. There's nothing really useful here, and I have work meetings happening now, so I think this is a good place to end it. But fuck you, Brett Stevens. You're a bed bug. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, thanks for making us coffee and recording this morning.
Uh-huh.
Love you.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Love you too.